Welcome, dear listeners, to episode 117 or 117 of the Reformed Gamers Podcast, the show all about theology, video games, Xbox, Halo, and all sorts of fun stuff. I'm your Spartan. I don't remember the numbers of the Spartans, even though I should host. Logan.
I am his co-host, Adam.
And I'm the international host, Gareth.
What?
Oh, yeah.
Adam, are we going
TRG
international?
Worldwide.
What?
Worldwide. We're expanding. We're tearing down borders, crossing oceans.
So what you're saying is we are doing
years and years of hostility. We're the Revolutionary War happened.
Oh, okay. I was like,
Yeah.
wait, what?
Seceded.
Oh.
But now this TRG is bringing people together.
Yeah.
So we're doing
That's it.
what PlayStation should have done, but they're not doing it. We're tearing down walls, bringing people to get. Never mind. I try to make a crossplay
Wow,
reference.
we're into crossplay already.
Yeah, I went ahead and jumped the gun on that. Oh well, whatever. Anyway, dear listeners, like we said last episode, starting off this state of podcast series on the Reformed Gamers here. We're going to be taking a look at each individual platform pre-E3, seeing how they're doing, seeing where they've come from, taking a look at what they're doing going forward. And of course, we're going to bring on some guests for these episodes. Last episode, we had Micah on for PlayStation. This episode, we have Gareth on for Xbox. And who are we going to have on next for Nintendo? You'll just have to wait and find out. So, hit that subscribe button, all that fun stuff. Anyway, Gareth, man, how's it going?
Yeah, not too bad. Not too bad. It's late at night or early in the morning. Depends how you work it. So we're on coffee, so that'll keep me going. So yeah, no, we're all good. We're all good.
So if we just hear snoring, we'll just kind of excuse it, right?
Yeah, that's an added extra.
There we go.
So,
Oh, it's a bonus.
yeah.
It's a bonus.
Yeah, that's a bonus.
There we go. That's a free DLC that comes with this episode.
Yeah. No, so I've got matches holding my eyes open. So yeah,
There you
you
go.
shouldn't lose me.
There you go. Cool. Well, Gareth, real quick, man, let's get you introduced to some of the dear listeners. Let's start off with this. How did you even find the show?
Well, I got connected to it through the Reform podcast.
Okay.
As I think quite a few people I think have moved over from that, or have been affiliated to both. And a friend got me into that, and I just came across you guys, and then just binge listened from the first episode. I
Nice.
probably came in 60, 70 episodes, maybe. I think maybe.
Oh, wow, okay.
No. So, and I just binged the whole lot, and then I've been a avid listener since, and occasional poster in the group, but normally it's about something that's
Lurking in the
happening in the
shadows. Gareth lurking in the shadows of the Facebook group, just waiting for the right time to pounce on a bad post.
That's it. Yeah, no. I hope not. I hope people don't think I'm like that. I don't know.
Definitely not.
No, they definitely think that of Adam, though, for sure.
Probably. It's like, oh, when's Adam going to pounce on me for an inappropriate post or saying something? And usually I just drop a GIF. I don't write words.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of the GIF. So if I can drop a well-timed GIF, that's all I needed. I'm good. I'm in and out real quick.
It's like, here comes Dad Adam.
No doubt. All my residents can attest to the same thing. They're like, oh, Dad's coming. Everybody act right, act normal. Dad's coming.
Quick, turn the light off.
Exactly. It's totally true.
All I can think of is someone in the group going, man, guys, just wait until Papa Adam comes in.
Yeah, no. Old man Adam.
Yep.
My wife was saying, she's like, man, you got some gray hairs coming in. I'm like, I'm just happy there's hair there at all. At this point, I'd take a head full of gray hair if I could, but I don't have much on top or the sides at this point. So.
Oh, that's amazing. Oh, awesome. Well, Gareth, man, let the dear listeners know, man, what is your favorite game so far this year? Not this year. Just what's your favorite game?
Well, so my favorite game naturally is an Xbox game, surprisingly. And it's one of those rare exclusives. It's Quantum Break. So Remedy Games, fantastic. First person shoot. Well, no, it wasn't first person shooter. Sorry, third person shooter. Just the mechanics, the storyline, and the fact they managed to successfully, in my opinion, put TV episodes in between each section of the game was fantastic. By the way, that's no spoilers. That's pretty well documented. So it's so good. I think I've played it 4, 5, maybe 6 times through.
Wow.
So I loved it because actually there's just so many things you could do, and what you did had such an impact. Not as many endings as, say, a certain PlayStation exclusive that's coming out soon claims it's going to have, but but actually what you could have an impact in was so obvious, and you could look out for it, you could make that change. It was just such a good game, and I'm quite excited because they're hopefully taking something to E3 soon.
That'd be
sort
cool.
of hinted at. So, but it won't be Xbox exclusive. So,
Oh snap!
We'll get more to that
I'll say
later.
we'll have to talk about that later. I remember playing Quantum Break back when I had an Xbox One, and I was pleasantly surprised by it. Like, I mean, it's not the perfect game, but like what it did really well. And even I'll admit, kind of like what you said about the TV show elements, that was pretty good. There was some shaky parts, but for the most part, really cool premise, really well done, and kind of surprised it didn't sell more than what it did. I thought it was a really cool game.
Is that the one made by the same people that made like Alan Wake?
Yep,
that's the one.
Okay.
Yep.
that's them.
And it had the main character. He was a real actor, right?
Yeah, Sean Ashmore.
Yeah.
I think he was Iceman on the
Yeah,
X-Men
yeah,
movies.
Yes. Okay. I just want to make sure I was following correctly.
Yep. Also on the following.
That was what that was one of the odd things about that game, was that it had a real, star cast of, actors, and then also had a load of nobodies that sort of did let it down. So I say nobodies, that's no offense to those guys, but probably weren't as good as you guys like Sam. So and it was a bit easy, to be honest. I found myself upping the difficulty level quite quickly, but
Oh wow.
I
think I was just terrible at the game then.
Whoops.
Yeah.
So that's my favorite game.
Fantastic. Well, dear listeners, that's Gareth for you, man. Well, you're going to hear more from him here later on in the show. But without further ado, let's just dive right into it, folks. So, welcome to the Reformed Gamers. We'd like to start the show like we always do with a little bit of what we've been playing and what we've been reading. And this edition of What You Have Been Playing has been brought to you by Dear VIP David Skinner, who supports us at the $25 tier over on patreon.com/thereformedgamers. If you like what we do here on the show, head on over to patreon.com/thereformedgamers. Pledge your support, get sweet perks such as early access to all of our episodes and entry into our monthly game giveaway and other things. Go check it out, patreon.com/thereformedgamers. But Gareth, since you are the guest of honor, our international host, what have you been playing, man?
Well, what have I been playing? So my go-to game, if friends are on, or if I just feel like a quick game of anything on the Xbox, it's Rainbow Six Siege. This game has just been so well supported. It's Ubisoft, so sometimes there are issues with the servers, but on the whole, it's such a good game, and it's just so many updates constantly come in, new characters, new maps, new modes. They recently did the Outbreak mode, which was some weird zombie alien mode that was quite fun, pretty hard, and I didn't like it too much, but so that's my go-to game.
Quantum Break was too easy. Rainbow Six Siege Zombies too hard. Noted.
That's it. Yeah. So anywhere in between there, that's me. Bit controversial this, but Destiny 2.
Whoa.
No,
Whoa.
I'm kidding. I played it. Are you still playing it?
Wait, hang on, the connection's gone. You guys put the phone down on me. No. So uh, I believe the word in the UK is tight. I I worry about I didn't want to go out and spend, $54.99 or $60, whatever it is, in
Mhm.
America when that game first came out, and I rarely do. The last game I did was Wildlands, Tom Clancy's Wildlands.
Oh yeah.
So got it at about Christmas, and then finally I've got round to playing it. So I've only just got to level 20. So been playing it for about a month now. Yeah, you know what? I actually quite like it. Controversial, I know. So, and
I'm with you. I enjoyed it when I played it first, just through the main story. The thing with me is it wasn't something that could keep me coming back. I never really got into Destiny 1. I've discussed that before. And Logan he's shared a lot of his concerns or issues with Destiny 2 more. But, playing through the main story with friends was a lot of fun. So I got no beef with that.
Yeah, I think if I have one criticism, it just feels like the difficulty level of it is just lots of enemies or not many enemies. So it's almost worse than the bullet sponge sort of difficulty change where, oh, right, okay, I've just got to pump loads of bullets into this, this guy. Instead, I've got 150 that don't take a lot to kill, but they're just killing me because they're coming at me left, right, center, from above, from beneath. Yeah. And sometimes that's frustrating because it's like, well, yeah, so there's that. And then
just
finally,
just as a side note, you can actually get that game. It may change by the time this is released, but I think they were selling it for literally $10 at Best Buy this week. $10. You can get Destiny, and on Amazon. It was on Amazon for 10, which is crazy.
Okay, I have not completed the campaign yet. I think I'm a couple of missions away because it seems that way. It is probably worth $10 if I'm honest.
Sure. For sure, it is definitely worth $10.
I think I'd rather spend $10 on Taco Bell, but that's just me.
Every Taco Bell comment you make, Logan, goes right over me, by the way.
Do you not have Taco Bell over there?
Nope.
Oh, nope. Wow. Okay.
Do you eat Mexican food in the UK?
We have a place called Nando's, which does Mexican food. But you guys probably don't have that. So Remember that cheeky Nando's thing that kicked off a while ago? Yeah.
I love it. I ask you if they have Mexican. You're like, there's one place that has Mexican, and that's like every other place in America serves Mexican food. That's hilarious.
We all eat fish and chips. So,
anyways, I'm sorry I cut you off. What's the last game that you've been playing?
And I tried PUBG, Xbox exclusive again. Sorry, Xbox and PC. And if I'm honest, I don't really like it.
Wow.
And I used to be a PC gamer quite a few years ago, and Arma 3 was my jam. I loved Arma 3. It was so good, so realistic. If you're playing with a few friends, it's great. I moved on to DayZ, which then became an actual game, not just the mod. And then PUBG just feels like a not as good DayZ. And I don't know if that's because I'm playing it on an Xbox now, and I used to play DayZ on a PC, if that's having any effect. But some people really enjoy it. Friends I play with really enjoy it, and that's cool. But I just don't think it's for me, really, if I'm honest.
Have you tried out Fortnite?
I've also tried Fortnite. Man, that game frustrates me.
I know that.
It's
feeling.
like I could draw an Xbox controller with my eyes blindfolded, but somehow when I'm shooting at somebody and somebody says build a wall, I press every button but Y to flick over to build a wall. And it's just like every time.
That's funny. That's funny.
So I don't know. Battle Royale looks like it's probably going to be the big thing at E3. So
Yeah.
we'll see. Even
Yeah.
Red Dead Redemption apparently might have a mode. So
Oh wow.
I don't think I'll be playing it though.
See, what we need to
enough.
get is we need to get Super Smash Brothers as a battle royale kind of game, and then it would just be it'd be perfect. I can't say it with a
100
straight
people.
face.
It's like Mario Odyssey Battle Royale.
I would play
Everyone's
that.
playing from the third. That'd be sweet.
I'd play it.
I'd play Super Smash Brothers Battle Royale if you could still fall off the side of the map like you
Fair
can in
enough.
Super Smash.
Just kicking people off the ledge like Kratos in God of War, man. They show up, you just shield them right off the ledge.
There you go.
How many people would rage quit from that? That would be awesome. Yes, that's me. That's what I've been
Awesome.
playing.
Cool. Adam, what about you, man? What have you been playing?
Well, I just hinted at it a little bit. I am soaking up God of War right now. I've been playing a little bit of Stardew Valley here and there, but I mean it has been very little. The last week has been kind of crazy. I didn't get to play much last week just because it was students' last week here on campus, so I was moving students out, making sure I could get them out so that I could play this week. But I mean, I've been putting in a decent amount of work the last 3 days, but no matter how much I play, I feel like I finally focused up on the story a little bit, the main missions today, and moved it along a decent amount. But there's just, okay, what's over here? What's over here? Oh, there's a Valkyrie here I want to go fight. There's one of those, I don't even know what you want to call it, the little like blue things in the air and you stab it. You kind of put your hand in, then an enemy comes out.
Oh, the rifts.
The rifts. I've got a rift right over here. I want to go fight. Oh, I'm going to go try to do this dragon or this side mission. There is so much to this game
Yeah, man.
that even I've got to a point where I'm finally at a point towards the end of the game where the two dwarves are like, all right, you better get your weapons ready because apparently I'm getting close to end game.
Yeah.
But I'm like, okay, there's a couple things I've still got to do before I go and do that. So I've got a couple of the other realms that I want to go explore. But I mean, I echoed this last time. The conversations between Kratos and Atreus are so good.
Yeah, dude.
I don't want to do any spoilers, but multiple times in the last 3 to 4 hours of playing, I'm just like, holy cow. Once Atreus finds out some stuff about who he is, that whole scene and the way that he responds to that,
Mhm.
and the way that Kratos is trying to like kind of shepherd him as a father and teach him,
Yeah.
but you have a rebellious son kind of. Oh, and even the scene right before that, before Kratos even has any conversations with him, so stinking good. And then you get to the point where you're like, you go back to the house, and it's like, and again, I'm not going to spoil anything.
So
but
many people are like, "What is he talking about right now?"
yeah, I don't want to. But there is a major point in the game, and I didn't know if it was going to happen. I wasn't expecting it. I was like, okay, I'm going to stop before I spoil it, because even Micah Hendricks messaged me. I'm assuming he saw me pop the trophy
hmm
on my system, and so he's like, "Oh, you got these," and I'm like, "Yes, I did." And then it's like a whole nother layer to the gameplay, and so just loving that game. I'm about to go up to Michigan this weekend for Mother's Day,
hmm
so I'm kind of upset that I was trying to finish it before we left,
Yeah.
but I don't see that happening. So I'll finish it next week, but it's so good. I won't platinum it. I'd like to kill a couple more Valkyries before I set it down, but
Yeah.
but if history proves itself, as soon as I finish the main story, I'll probably set it down and likely never pick it up again, because that's how I play games. So
Fair enough. You could just
But
bring
yeah.
that up there and be like, "Mom, you've got to check this game out. This is a Mother's Day gift from me to you. You've got to play God of War."
You know, I could just put it on the Vita and just
There you go.
Vita is live.
There you
I
go.
can
there we
just
go.
do that on remote play, but that the combat is so smooth with the
Yeah.
L1 R1, and that would be too much for me on the Vita.
Oh,
Like
yeah,
I'm
'cause you
looking
gotta use the
forward to
triggers.
Nino Kuni 2. I'm like, this is a game that I should be able to play on my Vita in bed, so
Mhm.
that'll be fun. But like God of War is just too much action, and now that I'm like, one thing that I didn't do for a long time was when you could change your stance, like
Mhm.
you attack, pause for a second, and then he'll kind of shift, and then you can do. I finally have started using those,
Mhm.
and man, again, there's just so many little ripples, little things that you can do, the different talismans or whatever that you can like. I use the one where I can refresh my relics, and that thing like does work. It's so good, but yeah, Gareth,
man.
I'm sorry you don't have a PlayStation 4 because this game is freaking amazing.
No, the only thing I'll add about that game is with the reviews, with games as they come out, they start to get all hyped up, and everyone's like, oh yeah, it's the best game, oh it's fantastic, it's got this feature. After release date, most of the time people start to be honest and say, oh yeah, it actually wasn't that good. This is probably the only game in the last couple of years for sure where actually that's been consistent. Even after release date, everyone's been saying, no, this is still game of the year contention, and that's been interesting to see. I wouldn't say it's tempted me to buy a PS4 though.
You just need to you gotta find a buddy over there that's got a PS4 and is like, hey, let's switch systems for like 3 months. It's gonna mean you giving up your Xbox, but hey, it's not like you're missing out on any exclusives. You can play it on your buddy's
snap.
PS4.
Oh, snap.
I'm sorry, this is the Xbox episode. I should probably not throw shade.
Way to
But
go, Adam.
as good
Well,
as
not this early anyway.
as good as everything is in that game, gameplay, graphics, the storytelling is still the best thing in the game for me.
Yeah.
It is so, just the relationship, father-son relationship I'm not seeing anything like it in games before. The way that even in like The Last of Us, like people love Ellie and whatever the main character's name is, I don't remember. People love that relationship, but the one between Kratos and Atreus is just by far probably one of my favorite like gaming duos ever. It's so good.
Yeah, man.
But anyways, I'll stop gushing. We gushed a lot on it last week.
No worries. As far as what I've been playing, just quick recap. I finished, well, last episode I said I finished God of War. I have the platinum trophy now in that game. So a little bit of advice for those of you dear listeners that are looking to platinum this game. Don't do it. I'm kind of kidding. It's just the thing. I hate this about certain games and some of their trophies is when they start becoming like collectathons. You have to collect all these different things. It's just not my thing. And so I didn't really hurt my enjoyment of the game too much because the Valkyries made up for all that stuff, because the Valkyries are just so much fun to fight. And yeah, it's still a great game. I still enjoy it. I still want to go back through and play it, especially after they put photo mode in it this past week. So I want to go in and spam all of my timelines on Twitter. And oh yeah, I don't have Facebook anymore. So I guess I'm just gonna fill Twitter with pictures of Kratos and Atreus and things like that. But the one game that I've been playing the most after playing God of War is like, one of those things. One of the downsides of playing a really good game is that it's hard to find another game to play afterwards, because you're like, how can a game match up to this amazing game I just finished? And with it being May, it's a crazy month for Ministry. I was like, I was looking for a relaxing game, a game that I could just play and just kind of chill out and just enjoy. And so I've been putting a lot of time into Stardew Valley. I'm almost into winter now. So, and it's so good.
Which farm did you choose this time?
Just the classic. I keep
Okay.
like, I don't know how many times I've started this game over, but each time I mean, I'm never going to finish the game if I keep starting it over, I know, but I can't remember. I know I tried there was a water farm once that has like the rivers and the oceans and stuff. I tried that once and enjoyed it, but every time I make a new farm, I always pick classic because I'm too nervous to try the other ones out because I don't know what kind of challenge they're going to be. And I wasn't really looking for a challenging kind of setup for this one either. And so I'm glad I picked the classic farm because now I've got it set up to where it pretty much waters itself. Like all the crops and stuff I have laid out a certain way. I have the quality sprinkler, so it just waters all the plants for me. I don't have to do anything, so I can just go explore and do whatever early in the morning. And it's weird because this game reminds me so much of Animal Crossing. And I know that the person who made the game was inspired by Harvest Moon, but to me it feels just like Animal Crossing, which was a game I spent so much time with on the GameCube and just going around town, exploring, talking to the villagers, upgrading my materials, finding different things to decorate my house with. It's so good, man. Stardew Valley is just so stinking good. Oh, love that game. So good. I'm really excited to see how winter is going to be in that game. I'm a little nervous because I'm worried that it's going to mess with the crops and all that and everything I've got set up. But
have you unlocked the greenhouse?
Not yet. You unlocked that through the community center, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I haven't gotten there yet. I have just a few more things left to donate to that specific room in the community center, and then I'll have the greenhouse unlocked.
I know. I was trying hard to get it by first winter, and I didn't. I screwed up in the spring, and I didn't get enough quality crops of one of the things. And yeah, I'm still figuring it out, but I'm feeling good because I'm in mid fall, about to hit my first winter, and so I haven't been going into the mines as much because I'm about to do that a ton in the winter because I'm not going to have the greenhouse in time.
Yeah.
So I've been starting to build some of the more like eclectic things. Like I've got like the one of the wheels that like makes wool or something like that.
Oh yeah, I just got that one.
I've got some of the electric like towers for thunderstorms and things. So again, I haven't played it much. I haven't got to a point where I have my self-sustaining farm where it's watering itself. I figured first year through, I'm going to just take the time and water it. Come year 2, I'm going to build it so that it kind of is self-functioning so I can do all the other, finish up the community center and some stuff like that.
Yeah. Right on, man. Yeah, it's a cool game, especially when you figure out how to self-automate your farm and all that. It's just, so good. Yeah, who would have thought in 2018 one of the best games you could play right now is a farming simulator?
I literally was about to say that exact same thing. So the only thing that impresses me about this game is the guy's story about how he made it and the grit and determination. Definitely, read that Blood, Sweat and Pixels that Logan wouldn't stop going on about for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks.
Crap out of that game or book. Yeah. It was a book, not a game.
But I mean, I slated a friend of mine for playing Farming Simulator, and then I see, 4 or 5 other people are playing Stardew Valley, and I'm like, oh hey, get those guys! They're playing a really cool game. That's exactly the same as what he's playing. It's just his is called Farming Simulator. So I know it's much more than just farming, but it's an impressive game.
Yeah. My wife, when I'm playing it, she somehow, I don't know how she manages to pull this off, but every time that I'm playing the game, I'm always in the mines. And so she'll come in, look at what I'm playing, and then go, oh, are you playing Minecraft? And I'm like, no, this is Stardew Valley. And so she'll go, okay, what are you doing right now? And I'm like, mining. And then she'll like, okay, pull up your menu. Let me take a look at that. And I pull up the menu, and she'll point it and go, what are you doing here? And of course, I respond with crafting. And she goes, huh? So it's like Minecraft. And then she walks away giggling. And I'm just like, come on. There's more to it than that. But no.
I don't know, I'm pretty excited. I just planted some apple trees. No big deal.
Yeah,
just a couple apple trees, an apricot tree, and oranges. No big deal. Just
big
another
deal.
day in Stardew Valley.
Yeah. Yeah. Can you milk cows
deal.
in wait, I think you can milk cows in Minecraft. Never mind. I tried. Anyway, all right.
Anyways.
Wow.
So moving along with the show here, this is kind of, I think ironic is a good word. I don't know. It's funny, coincidental. This section of What Have You Been Reading is brought by Gareth Evans here, who's on the podcast.
Hello. Inception.
Well, Gareth, man, what have you been reading?
Well, have I been brought to you by me, or have I been brought to you by me?
I don't know, man.
Anyway,
it's like Gareth Inception right now.
I'm looking at the spinning top, and it's just spinning. So I've been reading Seeing and Savoring Jesus Christ by John Piper. It's a book I read once a year, typically around Easter. I try and spend a good bit of time going through it and just soak in the truth that, just emanates from that book. I really like the way John Piper writes, lays out his books, nice, quick, short chapters that you can sort of just build into your daily routine. So, so that's sort of what I've been going through. Just a great book and early reco. I would definitely give it a read if you haven't already.
And it's probably free on Desiring God's website if you're down for ebooks.
It will be, yeah. I think, don't they do it with PDFs? I think they put them down as PDFs, don't they? Yeah, definitely worth a read. Just the prayers as well. Sometimes I struggle when I'm reading a book to also, sit back and pray over what it is that I've read. When it's something that's not scripture. So to have a prescribed sort of prayer there that you can use at least as a, bare bones if you want to expand or just use that, it's really good. And, I think it's sort of good for anybody, no matter what stage of their faith they're at, whether they're new, to the faith, whether they're, quite far on in their journey with, with God. So, that's what I've been reading.
Right on. What about you, Adam?
In the Word, I just started up Job. I've been working through the Minor Prophets using the Read Scriptures app. I think I've discussed it before, and it's been really good for the Minor Prophets because they do these little short videos before, and it kind of summarizes the book. And sometimes when you get in the Minor Prophets, you're like, what is even going on here? There's so much prophecy. There's so much, who are they talking about? Who are they condemning? And these videos do an amazing job of just keeping the larger story kind of in view and looking at justice and mercy, and it really helpful. And now I'm in Job, and just kind of one thing I was actually talking with a coworker of, okay, so we know Job's friends are wrong in their response, but yet there is still some truth sprinkled within there. And so trying to just, someone said, wisdom is truth rightly applied. And so these guys had a lot of truth, but it wasn't wisdom because they weren't rightly applying it to Job's life and his circumstances. And so just trying to really mine out as much as I can in the book of Job. And just every time I read it, I think of the song by Dustin Kinsrue, I think is his name.
Oh yeah.
And it's about like Job's life, about like where were you when God formed everything. And it's just, so every time I read in the morning, I think of that song and basically sing it in my head multiple times. But what I do want to discuss, I'm reading The Cost of Discipleship by Bonhoeffer. I think I mentioned it briefly last time we recorded. I've got like 20 pages or so left, but I just want to read a quick section where he's discussed cheap grace and is kind of, talking about how it's worthless. And he says basically cheap grace is the preaching of forgiveness without requiring repentance. And then he goes into costly grace. He says, such grace is costly because it calls us to follow, and it is grace because it calls us to follow Jesus Christ. It is costly because it costs a man his life, but it is grace because it gives a man the only true life. It is costly because it condemns sin. It is grace because it justifies the sinner. Above all, it is costly because it costs God the life of his Son. You were bought with a price, and what has cost God much cannot be cheap for us. Above all, it is grace because God did not reckon his Son too dear a price to pay for our life, but delivered him up for us. Costly grace is the incarnation of God. And so he just, his chapter on cheap grace versus costly grace is worth the book in and of itself. It is so good and so refreshing. I mean, living in a world where cheap grace is everywhere. Our culture, at least in America, I can't speak for the UK, but America, cheap grace is everywhere. It's in too many churches. It is like he says, it's preaching forgiveness without requiring repentance. And so, but then when we talk about and he hits on this a lot. If our master suffered and died, we are going to have suffering. It's going to cost us something. It's going to cost us something, but never more than that it cost God. And so just a great reminders. I've read that and it's been really helpful. Just we've got some family drama going on in our family, and just the book has been really nourishment to my soul. Just super thankful for that. As Bonhoeffer just talks about some conflicts and things like that. I mean, being's a guy who tried to assassinate Hitler. It's weird because he's also a pacifist. So really interesting dynamic there, but really, really enjoy the book. So that's what I've been reading.
Right on, man. Well, as far as what I have been reading, I've been finished Ready Player One a couple episodes ago. And so I've been trying to figure out what kind of fiction book I want to read and finish up, because I've got a few series I need to finish up. I still need to get through Harry Potter, which I know some people are cringing right now, like, why? There's that one. There's Narnia. There's Mistborn. There's Way of Kings that I need to start, which is the Stormlight Archive series. And I decided, you know what? I need to actually finish Narnia. I need to finish those books because I enjoyed the first three. There was Lion Witch in the Wardrobe, Caspian, Dawn Treader. Yeah, first three. Because publication order apparently is the only way to read it, and if you read it chronologically, then I guess you're a sinner, is what people told me. I don't know. That's just what people told me, man. I don't have a cow in this fight, or that's not even the right phrase.
It's just plain wrong.
A cow in a fight. That's funny.
I don't think that's what it's. Dog in a fight, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, so I picked it back up, and I left off with Dawn Treader. I'd finished that. That was the one I read recently, like a year ago recently, and so I had to start back up with Silver Chair. And so far, I got some flack for this on Twitter, but so far, it's just kind of boring to me. I don't really like Jill's character. I liked Eustace from the last book, but in this one, I just don't really care for him. I don't know. I'm going to finish it. I'm going to at least finish it and see how I feel. But one of the things I really enjoy about these books is as you're reading it, there's little bits of subtle theology kind of sprinkled throughout in there. And there was this one that I was kind of surprised that it just showed up as early as it did in the book, where Jill is talking to Aslan, who is the Christ-type figure in the series. And there's this point where Aslan asked Jill how they got there, how they got to Narnia. And she goes, well, I reckon it's because we willed it, or we were calling out your name or something like that. And he just straight up says, you would not be here unless I called you first. And I'm like, yo, C.S. Lewis, what you doing right now, man? You were just straight up. it just and then I spent the next 5 minutes putting the book down and just thinking about regeneration, thinking about predestination, what Christ did on the cross, and how we were dead in our sins, and the fact that Jesus made a way for us to be free from our sins, and that he just regenerates us back to life. He takes the heart of stone out of us to give us a heart of flesh, the one that feels for God and godly desires. And I was about ready to worship right then and there. I'm like, yo, C.S. Lewis, I remember why I like these books, because you get me to think about God in a way that's subtle, that'll probably go over some people's heads, but I see what you're doing, and I'm liking it. So, but yeah, all that to say, Silverchair is just kind of okay at this point, except for that one scene right there. But no, it's. I mean, it's better than Prince Caspian. I'll at least say that. That was one I didn't really enjoy a whole lot. But yeah, so Silverchair. Adam, I think I made this awkward. I think some dear listeners are ready to storm the building and get me to repent. Man, what are we doing this episode? Who are we looking at? Not who are we looking at. Just go. Words are messing me up, man.
Well, as we discussed last episode, we are walking through the state of PlayStation, the state of Xbox tonight, and in the future we will be doing the state of Nintendo, all pre-E3, just so we can kind of get a grip of where we're at going into E3. And so bringing on Gareth to help us, as I've played the Xbox One, and I haven't tried the One X yet, but I've played the Xbox One. I've got my opinions, but I've never personally owned one. I know Logan has owned one for different seasons of life. He buys and sells them, I feel like.
Maybe 3.
So yeah, I've actually been trying to find one on the cheap, but I haven't been able to find my King of Thrift deal yet. Because if I can find one for the right price, I'm gonna jump at it just so I can play with guys in my dorm. But anyways, so yeah, we're gonna be discussing the state of Xbox. We're gonna be looking back. We're gonna be looking at the present, and we'll be looking forward. But Logan, should we take a quick break before, or you want to just roll with it?
I say we just keep rolling, man.
All right, let's just roll with it. So we'll jump right into it. This section brought to you by dear patron Eric Bryant. Thank you, Eric, for your continued support over the last couple years. Really, you've been one of the OG listeners and supporters of the podcast. So, well, let's just look back, and this is actually helpful because just this week, Variety. Let me pull up the I have it right here. Variety did an interview with EA, of all people, looking at sales of different consoles and things like this. And per the article on Variety, it'll be in the show notes, Microsoft has sold approximately 30 million Xbox One consoles. Now, this is by the end of 2017. Per the article, they say that there was about 100 million consoles sold for this generation. As we know, Sony at end of 2017 said that they had sold about 73 million. So, you look at, for, being 5 months almost into this year, probably looking around 30 to 35 million consoles, Xbox One. So not horrible. I think the only bad thing is when you compare that to PlayStation, that can kind of leave a bad taste. But all things considered, that's a lot of consoles. That's a lot of money, a lot of investment going into this console generation. So that's kind of what we're looking at. Then if you even look a little bit further back, PlayStation 3 came on strong towards the end of the last gen, but the last generation was really dominated by the Xbox 360. I don't know anybody who was a gamer really that didn't have an Xbox 360. It kind of dominated. And so they kind of rode that into the Xbox One, Xbox One S. But one of the main differences, and this is where we're kind of looking at some of the victories that Xbox did differently than PlayStation, is really just how they approached the console. Now, and you guys can correct me if I'm incorrect on this, but when Xbox started, they really, the reason it's called the Xbox One, because it was an all-in-one gaming system, video games, multimedia, video,
yep,
all things included. And so that's kind of how they approached it. Now, in many ways, that brought some really good things, but I think that there are some things that we'll look at for stumbles that has kind of held them back. So let's just jump right on into some of the Xbox One victories. First one that's kind of probably more recent than a lot of the other things that we kind of have here that are just kind of been staples of the Xbox One. But the Xbox One Games Pass. Gareth, are you a Games Pass member?
I drift in and out depending on what's sort of available that month. That's the great thing about the Games Pass, really, is, you know, it's constantly changing, but games are there long enough that you can, you know, eke what you can out of it. Compared to the PlayStation, I wouldn't even call it an equivalent because it isn't really.
Well, why don't you give us a quick rundown of what is the Games Pass for those who may be listening and not quite familiar with what it is? Can you give us a quick synopsis of what the Game Pass is?
Yeah, so the Games Pass literally is a Netflix for games, only on Xbox, not just Xbox exclusives. So this does include quite a few, you know, different you know, second party, third party publishers and developers. It's now changed dramatically from where it was originally, which was a lot of older games, to now every single brand new Xbox exclusive game will be available day one for the Game Pass, which is pretty big. You know, if you think about, I mean, at the minute, I think it's £1 over here for 1 month, and I think it's $1 in America. Talking to some friends on Xbox, so you know, it's really cheap. That means you're getting Sea of Thieves, for example. That was available day one on Game Pass for $9.99 or $10. I think it is. So, you know, pretty great value for money. They've obviously now brought back some Xbox original, some Xbox OG, not Xbox Ones, but Xbox original games. You know, Knights of the Old Republic. You know, it covers so many, and Xbox 360 games. So it covers so many different games. Something that's also missed out there is the ability to actually buy the games as well, because obviously once they come out of the Game Pass, they shuffle the playlist around a bit. You don't have access to that game anymore, but they offer it at a discounted price if you've got the Game Pass, which is pretty incredible. Some people are able to pick up, you know, Sea of Thieves, for example, for like a third off, you know, and that's you know, after the game's only been out, you know, a month, 2 months at most. So there's lots of different features about it that really make it stand out and is getting people to think this is the future really for games across all platforms, you know, from different developers. So that's probably a very long-winded summary.
Yeah, and just to clarify, I think it's $10 a month here in the US. And then the way that it works is, and this is as of March of this year, it says that there's over 100 games, so it's a decent thing. And the big thing between the Games Pass and PlayStation Now is you can actually download these games straight to your system. The game and PlayStation Now, it streams them off some online server, which gives latency issues. But the great thing about the Game Pass is that you can download them and they're on your system, so they're going to run a lot smoother, all things included. So it's a huge selling point for the Game Pass.
Absolutely, and as far as I was aware from the PlayStation Now things, with all of that was also if you stop playing the game, you can get booted off the game to allow for other people to, you know, get on, and that must be frustrating. But
so that's a huge victory. I mean, like you said, they're the first ones to do this and to do this well. I think there have been, you got like GameFly, and some of those are like, how are we going to do like this Netflix for gaming and do it well? And it never has really taken off. This is really, I think, going to become to a degree the future of gaming. Now, again, we'll talk about the fact that you can get Sea of Thieves day one on Games Pass. That's pretty impressive. That's a big time deal that they have there, and for $10 a month. But just moving on. So we also have an Xbox Victory as their services. I mean, this again, Xbox One, all-in-one kind of thing, multimedia machine. So Logan, why don't you jump in here and kind of talk about, as someone who's had an Xbox One, how would you compare, say, Xbox Live? Because we discussed a little bit about PlayStation Plus last week. How would you describe Xbox Live in just the strength that is? Because I think a lot of people would say, man, Microsoft has their online infrastructure. It goes pretty well, pretty smooth.
Yeah, and that's the thing that I think people would at least in terms of consistency across the board, that's the thing that you're going to hear the most, is that their online is the best there is. You know, as much of a Sony pony as I may be, I will definitely admit that that when it comes to Xbox Live, their servers, how their online runs for multiplayer is better than PlayStation's. Now, I haven't had a whole lot of issues with matchmaking and stuff like that on the PS4 side of things, but I know a lot of people who have. Whereas on the Xbox, it's way more, what's the word? I guess consistent is a good word for it. It's consistent quality. You know you're going to get a smooth connection and a smooth experience every single time that you hop on there. And then, of course, coming from the 360, and they've had to make some changes along the way to get it back to where it was, but the party chat system now is back to where it was in the 360 days, where it's easy to get people in. It's easy to get your friends together and play a game of Fortnite or PUBG or whatever together pretty easily. And then as far as the free games go, it's the same thing with PlayStation Plus. 1 month's going to be good, then another month might not be as great. But what makes up for that is the fact that Xbox is putting in 360 games and even Xbox, like OG Xbox games, in through backwards compatibility support.
Yeah.
And so you're getting 4 games a month for free. Some of them are 360 classics that we've all really enjoyed playing, and some of them you can play some of the newer titles as well that come out on the Xbox One. And so it's kind of a neat little package you get each month, because you get to relive some of your favorites on the Xbox One. And even games like Red Dead Redemption, the first one, are getting 4K upgrades. So if you have the Xbox One X, you're getting even more added benefit to that as well. And then, of course, you have the streaming services like Netflix, Verve, Funimation, all the stuff that you can get on other platforms. And the way that they function is going to vary between user. I've heard people say that their YouTube app doesn't work that great on Xbox, and then I've had friends who say Netflix doesn't work that great on their PS4. So it just kind of, your mileage may vary a little bit. But I think one of the other great things that they're doing with their services is that they're giving players options, like with the Games Pass, but they're also giving you options through the EA Access, where if you're a subscriber, which I think is like $5 a month, I might be wrong, so don't quote me on that, you're able to play the latest EA games a whole week before they even get released to the public. And then you're even able to buy EA games at a discount if you really enjoy that game that you're playing. So like when Mass Effect Andromeda was about to release, I got to play that, I think, 4 or 5 days before anybody else because of EA Access. Now, there's different opinions of EA as a publisher and whether or not they're, good or bad for the gaming market. But as far as a service goes, that's a great way to try a game before you buy it, and then if you enjoy it, get a discount. Whereas PlayStation doesn't have that, which is kind of a shame, because I think EA Access, for the most part, is a pretty good service. And I wish that more publishers would kind of give that style of service a go, especially on different platforms.
Gareth, why don't you jump in and talk a little bit about maybe even backwards compatibility just in that? I mean, that's been one major selling point for the Xbox. I mean, we've also got, they're also looking to bring even Discord in. So you can kind of jump in there. What are some of the services things like backwards compatibility that have really been a major selling point for you?
I think for me, it's not just the with the backwards compatibility, it's these games have been, we'll just throw a couple of new Halo games at people because there's a new Halo coming out or whatever. Poor example, but Red Dead Redemption, there's a new one of those coming out. We'll just make it look pretty and we'll put it back out again. There's a lot of rework done on some of these games. Quite a few have controller remapping, smoothing the controls up, and it's consistent. Monthly, new games are brought to backwards compatibility, and in a way it's sort of brought back the used disc market as well. So used games now, sort of, you can walk into a shop and pick up an Xbox 360 game, and if it's now on backwards compatibility, you put that disc in, it will work. Which it was only a few years ago they were saying that used games were no longer going to be the thing, and that it was all going to be digital downloads, and that's sort of come back now. And with the OG Xbox, there's just so many classics out there. Knights of Old Republic, Black. So many games that sort of made the Xbox, or showed the OG Xbox for us, for the great console that it was. They've come back, and that's such a selling point for people that are like, well, hang on, I can't get this on any other platform, maybe PC not included. So actually, this is a reason to keep hold of my Xbox, or to get one on a good sale or on a Black Friday deal or whatever. And touching on some of the things that Logan mentioned, the party, for example, the Xbox app that you sort of have companion wise with your Xbox has improved massively in the last 2 years even. The fact you can now run and control your parties from your phone, you can actually be in on your party through your phone and not through your Xbox. Lots of weird, quirky things like that. They are now allowing connection between your Discord account to your Xbox, something that wasn't there before. I don't know if that's there in PlayStation. I'm not sure, but they're broadening out, and I think they went very insular and were just sort of concentrating on what Xbox could do or Microsoft could do to get the most out of people. And I think now they've seen they've needed to broaden their horizons a little bit and tried to get some outside sourcing in. You can share directly to Twitter now, which I know Logan said he can do that already on his PlayStation 4.
No big deal. No big deal.
We can now do that on the Xbox. So, or we will be able to in the next update coming up soon. So, they're just, this service side is something that they've just got right since the OG Xbox, and they've built up on, and they've had to do a bit more work on it since the Xbox One released, but to get some fan loyalty back. But so that's sort of the service is really summed up. I guess.
Before we kind of move on here, can you explain Mixer? Do you ever stream do you stream much online, Gareth?
Embarrassingly, I do.
Can you explain? Because I've heard Mixer, and for you to put it down as one of their victories, what are maybe some comparisons to that and like Twitch?
So Mixer does not get nearly as many people on it as Twitch. You can see that from the numbers, of views that people get. So it's a bit more niche. But why I consider it such an Xbox victory is because it is so easy to, within 3 clicks, you're streaming. or you're sharing to Mixer. And it is just so much easier than Twitch, where I've got to open up the app on my Xbox and then, go in through a couple of different ways, and then it'll start streaming. It's like, oh, do you know what? I'm having a really good game on, Rainbow Six Siege. I'll start streaming. And then as soon as I start streaming, I suck. So
it's like the game starts using an algorithm
classic.
just to make you look bad.
It does. Because then everybody else that's playing with me can see it as well and go, oh, Gareth's streaming. Oh, right. Wow. He sucks.
Why am I watching him again?
Yeah. All three of my views.
All three of your
So-
viewers. It's your mom and your sister and
and then me on the
Yeah.
Mixer app.
watching himself.
Yeah.
Wow, you're doing pretty good, Gareth. Thanks, Gareth.
Yeah. So yeah, that's why I don't do that. Okay, I don't do that. Let's just get that out on the record. And yeah, and that kind of feeds in actually to another point I'd put down, which was the user interface. It's developed so much from the OG Xbox through the Xbox 360 to where it's at now is actually a really smooth dashboard that you can move over so easily, and everything's sort of in a logical place, where I've never really found that with a PlayStation interface. It's sort of 3 kicks left and 6 clicks down, and there's my Twitch app or whatever. Whereas on Xbox, everything just makes sense where it is, and there definitely wins for Xbox, for Microsoft, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I mean, we're not even gonna get too much into it. But I mean, if we're being honest, even as Logan called us Sony ponies, the Xbox. I mean, you look at the Xbox One X, and it's the best console system out there right now, just purely on specs. Now, depending on what you're wanting out of your systems, whether that's and this will lead into some of our next conversation, exclusive games or whatever. I mean, there's no doubt the Xbox One X on pure power is the premier machine out there. I mean, it's the most expensive also. And so just even talking about that as a victory, I mean, it's smooth. I mean, I've only, again, heard from other people and kind of read up on it and different things like that. But the Xbox One X is a great machine. But that kind of leads us to our, and we're already kind of in this. We're kind of talking about Xbox present as we talk about victories. I mean, all these things are things that are currently going on. But one of the current struggles within Microsoft is the lack of exclusives. And so why don't we just discuss that for a little bit? Logan, what's your perspective on the Xbox struggle right now? As again, let's just take this kind of look at present within the last year. You've got Cuphead, which is probably the premier exclusive game that's been released in the last year. You've got Sea of Thieves, which is getting mixed reviews. Some people really love it. Some people are like, this was fun for a hot minute, but now I'm moving past it. So what has Microsoft got to do to kind of rewrite this narrative of, we've got a great system, we've got a great user interface, we've got backwards compatibility, but we don't have any exclusive games and again, in a vacuum, that's fine. But when you're looking at the opponent and they've got exclusive on exclusive, what's your perspective on that?
Well, and this is what's kind of weird about the Xbox One, is because the 360 had really strong exclusives. Not all of them were good, but they had a really good lineup. And this was around the time when Gears of War first started. The Forza series was getting its start there on the 360. Halo was really in its prime with Halo 3 there. You had games like Alan Wake, these unique single-player exclusives. You had their JRPG lineup like Blue Dragon, Last Revenant, Lost Odyssey. I feel like there's another one I'm forgetting. Is it Infinite Undiscovery? Was that on 360? Can't remember if that was an exclusive or not. But, it had these really great exclusives. And it's what helped make the 360 the console of that generation. And so to go from that to now, where they have a decent lineup of exclusives, but it's nowhere near the pedigree or quantity of the PlayStation. And Colin Moriarty on Colin's Last Stand actually put a video out about this recently. I'll link it in the show notes. It's weird to see them struggle with this so much when, by all accounts, they're succeeding with everything else, with their services, their online, their app integrations, and those kind of things. And so it's weird to see it happen, especially when they cancel some of their exclusives or they delay them to forever. Like Crackdown 3 was supposed to come out last year, but even before then it was supposed to be a launch title, and here we are 5-6 years into the console cycle. Where is it? State of Decay 2 is finally getting released, but then even then that's not going to sell consoles, at least not in my opinion. And so right now their strong exclusives are the Forza series. My personal favorite is the Horizon series. Halo is honestly fizzling out, if we're all honest. Halo 5 did not sell well. Gears of War 4 was okay, but it didn't light the world on fire. You know, it was fun. It was the same as the other games, but it didn't really change anything. And so you have a game like Cuphead that you can also play on PC through their Xbox Play Anywhere program. And so you're just kind of left with, I can play Overwatch, I can play PUBG, you know, but these are all games that you can play on other platforms. And so I forget who it was in the group that said this, but, you know, what's the point of the Xbox One X having all this power if there's nothing to play on it? If there's nothing that takes advantage of that horsepower? And so it's a weird situation, and it's one that I honestly don't like seeing Xbox in, because I remember them being the juggernaut that they used to be. I mean, Adam, me and you had Xbox 360s in our dorms, you know, and we would always play on those. And so I don't know. It's weird. I'll sum it up and say it's weird, and I hope that they have some huge announcements at E3 that relate to first party exclusive titles, because I want Xbox to come out swinging. I want them to succeed, and they're doing well for now, but they really need to pick up the pace in this area.
Gareth, why don't you speak into, I mean, you put it here in the show notes even about Phil Spencer going over to Japan. So as a guy who owns an Xbox and it's their main, you know, console of choice, like as someone who has that, like as a user, like do the exclusives matter to you? Is that something that you just kind of like, you know, I hope that eventually they come back, but it's not a huge deal because third parties are so prevalent? Are they, you know, they're not necessarily as maybe vital as they used to be. So as an Xbox guy, like how do you approach the exclusive conversation, and how do you see the future of the exclusives coming along?
Well, I mean, for me, exclusives don't make a console. That's let's make that clear. I think you know, exclusives help. They certainly show off a console in the way that, you know, one of the, you know, console developers, Sony, may say to a studio, develop a game that really shows off this feature. You know, the touchpad, for example, on the Sony controllers, they that weird mesh bit that's on your PS4 controllers, I don't know what it is, bit of scrap, I don't know, but they you know, they got first party exclusive developers to, you know, work on something that played on that, and actually all that's doing is just trying to sell a few consoles, isn't developing anything crazy, isn't pushing the boundaries of gaming in general. Where for me, exclusives, there have been some incredible exclusives over the past, and from Xbox, and, you know, Halo, you say they're fizzling out, Logan. I think everybody in the industry, every gamer would love to see Halo come back with some refreshed look that just pushes, oh yeah, this is the Halo OG experience we had on the Xbox OG. You know, this is the same thing that got everybody into, hey, let's get 4 people around my house and, you know, let's all play, team deathmatch, or let's go to Blood Gorge, and things like that. I think that's what everybody wants, because there are so many classic, brilliant, titles that sit under the Microsoft name. Gears of War 4, wasn't anything special. Sort of needs the same thing happening to that, or I would like to see a spin-off personally, that just leaves that main party and just takes something different away. And there are titles there, but they've been used and probably too much now, maybe. And those need to be taken and refreshed and taken a different spin on them. It doesn't sell a console for me. I think if I was sat at an Xbox One X, I may have a different thought on that. The only reason why I haven't got an Xbox One X is price, and I haven't got a 4K TV, so sort of doesn't seem to make sense to me at the minute. But it is something that I definitely would like. I think if I was in, one of those gamers that had an Xbox One X, I might be begging for a few more exclusives. Having said that, I know that a game I'm playing on my Xbox One X would look better than what somebody's playing on a PS4 Pro, and quieter as well by the sounds of it.
A jet engine in my cabinet.
Yeah. And I think, I think the way Xbox has to do this is to go after some different games. Cuphead was such a different handcrafted beauty that came out of nowhere. I mean, the whole back of the screen is hand painted. The background is hand painted. That's spectacular. That was done by one of the lead developers' wives. She was like, "Oh, I'll help you out do this." Just started painting, the background of the game. So, and it was so different and something that we'd not really seen before. That's the sort of game I think we don't need a Last of Us clone. We don't need a Uncharted clone, because we've got Tomb Raider, which Uncharted is a clone of, but let's not get into that. But Xbox needs to chase after these different games, which, as you touched on, Adam, that Phil Spencer was rumored to have been over in Japan very recently talking to studios, and there's lots of different rumors. The rumor mill is grinding. And I said to you guys before the show, I'd just love him to come back and be like, yeah, I've spoken to 4 new studios that nobody's really ever heard of, and they're gonna, smash out 4 JRPGs, or just, dare I say it, I would like a Journey clone or a Flower clone on Xbox, but just something that's not really the same and a bit different, but something like those, no real clue what the point of those games are, but
they're beautiful when you play them.
But they're beautiful when you play them.
For some reason, you're all emotional by the end of it. Like, why am I crying? Right. I don't know.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm just sliding down a sand dune. What's this? I think that's where, and Phil Spencer, from what you hear from people, that get interviewed, is such a key character behind, everything that's happened at Xbox and the reason why it keeps being such a success. And I think they need to get away from things like timed exclusives. We mentioned this a little bit earlier, that it just left them with egg on their face. They looked so silly with the Tomb Raider timed exclusive. And I think they need to get away from things like that and start really backing some studios that people have never really heard of, like the Cuphead studio, which the name avoids me at the minute. But that's what I think I'd like to see them do, and just get their trust and start chucking some games out. And yeah, if it goes like Remedy have, where their new game that they're supposedly going to be doing is now on PS or will be on PlayStation as well. Actually, who cares? Because if you've got an Xbox One X, you're still going to have the best looking version of that game anyway. So Xbox wins kind of hands down when it comes to that, third party battle anyway. So, yeah, I think I sort of answered it.
Yeah, I like that. I like what you and Logan are both kind of hinting at is, they have the best system out there. And yeah, you may get the best version of Red Dead Redemption 2. But and while it may be the best, I don't think it's going to be necessarily leaps and bounds better because they had to make it in a way that is functional on different platforms. And so if they had a couple more of those exclusives, like if Crackdown 3, kind of look into the future, if Crackdown 3 eventually could come out, State of Decay 2 coming out here soon, it's like, these are where you're like, hey, you're working in one ecosystem. And it's the best ecosystem out there. You've got the most power, the most teraflops or whatever. Go and make this thing look as beautiful as you can. Awesome. And again, graphics aren't everything. They've never been everything. I've talked about that often on the show. Graphics don't make as much as exclusives don't. Graphics don't either. I'm over here talking about how earlier God of War is great because of the story. And so it needs to be a well-rounded game. And, talking about Journey and some of those other games that you were just mentioning, like you've got to have, but they just got to, follow through on some things too. I think, they had exclusives, but how many have they shut down? They've shut down a handful of those before they could get to fruition. And so trying to find a way to see those through to release and then hyping those up. And that kind of leads us into the future. Again, upcoming games, upcoming things to look forward to in Xbox as we round out this State of the Xbox address. State of Decay 2 coming out this summer, I believe. Yeah, maybe within the next month?
I think it's within the next month. Yeah.
Yeah, within the next month. And so that'll be a big one, especially with the, the whole Battle Royale world that we live in. State of Decay kind of started that off. And so... seeing how they maybe build upon that with their game. Again, we've mentioned another one that's worth mentioning, Crackdown 3. Who knows if and when? Surely we're going to hear more about that at E3. And so that kind of we didn't talk about this in the show notes. I just thought of it as we were discussing the show. Before we go into Xbox 2 or whatever's next, what do we need to see from Microsoft at E3? Like, they don't have to win the conference, but what are some things? Logan, we'll throw it out to you first, and then Gareth, we'll let you jump in. What's maybe one or two things that you'd really like to see from Microsoft at E3?
Well, this is probably going to rub people the wrong way, but I don't care. I'd like to see the gaming world burn a little bit. And I'm going to say a console exclusive Superman game just to round it out.
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation gets Spider-Man, Xbox gets Superman. Let's just see it happen. I know a lot of people listening are like, no, we don't want that. It's like, but I'm just saying that would be just incredible to watch. I don't know if that's going to happen or not. I just know Xbox is saying they're going to announce some pretty big things at E3, and I think that would be probably one of the biggest things that they could reveal is that right there. But ultimately, it's that. Like, I would just love to see some new partnerships with developers, kind of like how Gareth mentioned earlier, maybe a Xbox version of Persona or some kind of game that is in that same style or genre, something like that. Because that was one thing I really enjoyed about the 360 was its JRPGs. I loved Lost Odyssey. I loved Blue Dragon. And I think that they could get that back and get more gamers in with those kinds of games. But it'll just be interesting. I would just love to see some kind of new partnerships, I guess, with developers is what I'll say. And I don't know, maybe a free Xbox One X for the hosts of TRG, but I don't think they'll ever announce that. But that's what I'll go with.
How about you, Gareth? Look, I think they've got to be doing something big. They've not got a booth a stand in the E3 conference center. They booked a hall over the road from it. So they're obviously doing something big at E3. Or I hope they are, otherwise I'll be very disappointed. Look, I think a Halo game is quite a possibility. It's sort of about time in the development cycle that we have. As I say, I would rather it be a spin-off of sorts. Same with Gears of War. If they were to do a Gears of War game, I would like it to be a spin-off, same universe, but just, different characters, different style of gameplay. I mean, I'm just going to throw this out here, but Gears of War universe, but it's a stealth game. Now, actually, that becomes a lot more intense. They've already got the cover-to-cover sort of action in place, but, instead of throwing a grenade, you're throwing a can over to distract them so you can make your way through. There's so many scenes where I can actually see that already. Gears of War 3, just trying to get over the bridge quite early on in the game. Come on, try and sneak through that. That'd be awesome.
That'd be pretty legit.
Anyway,
I would play that.
And that there would be something that could sell a game. But first-person shooters, they've got them down. They are really good at shoot 'em ups. I think I would like to see some JRPGs. I think I would like some straight up RPGs. How about another Fable?
Yeah,
that'd be nice. Or a Fable-like game. Skyrim's been done to a death now, and supposedly Bethesda's got something up their sleeves. But I'd like to see, Microsoft come up with something from some studio nobody's ever heard of, and that's how Fable started. Just get somebody to run with that. So I think there's got to be something about the consoles as well. They've got to announce something. Price drops on the Xbox One X would be nice. I think backwards compatibility is going to take up a big part of their talk as well. I think they've got to go big. I think otherwise it will be a complete loss this generation. They're losing the generation, but I think this E3 could sort of tell a lot about what they do and how they go forwards in the next generation, and whether they just pull out from games. I wouldn't like to see that, and that's based on nothing at all. But is it a possibility? I don't know, but I think they've got to go big. They've got to go big.
I kind of think of, I kind of hinted at it earlier, like towards the middle of last generation, Xbox 360 was crushing PlayStation 3. But by the end of the generation, they had almost balanced out. Now, we're a little bit past. We're probably past midway of this generation at this point. And I mean, PlayStation is kind of crushing, but that doesn't mean that Xbox couldn't do something to close that gap. And that's kind of hinting at what you're saying, Gareth, is like they just need to close the gap. And if anything, this could be, get the hype going as we move into next generation. Like begin casting a little bit of that vision. You don't have to come out and say, okay, we got the Xbox 2, but like finish strong and let that be a launching into next generation. And so I think it's just got to be, they just need to have big positive hype. You need some new games. You got to mention some big exclusive games. I don't know if that is a Halo or, the more you talk about JRPGs, I'm like, I can't think of really a big JRPG on the Xbox, especially an exclusive. But it doesn't even need to necessarily be an exclusive, but like get somebody to partner with you, get a couple of those games, build the hype, and just keep, again, they've got some good things. Talk about Games Pass, make that even better. Find a way to make it even better. Keep talking about EA Play. While that's not everybody's cup of tea, because EA isn't just sports games, but it is a lot of sports games. Like that's a huge selling point. They've got a lot of good things going for them. It's just one of the big buzzwords in gaming right now is exclusive, especially at an E3 conference. So they've got to be able to do something, and don't get caught up in the console exclusive, or because that was a big thing last year. There was like 4 different exclusive titles. Every game they mentioned was exclusive in some way, and it's like there was a ton of confusion. Stop trying to play games with words. Just present your stuff, build hype, keep building, finish this cycle well, this generation well, launch into the next one and see what happens. That's kind of where I'm at. But just real briefly, do we hear anything? I mean, we just got the Xbox One X within the last year. Is Xbox 2 even on the radar? Like, what are your guys' thoughts?
I hope they name it something else besides Xbox 2, because they're getting into Apple territory with naming stuff at that rate.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like a catchier name than Xbox 2. Possibly Xbox 10 or X or whatever it is.
X gonna give it to you.
Apple call the X gonna give it to you. Yeah, apart from a better name, I mean, I put down in the show notes, I would love to see VR move into Xbox. Let's be honest, Xbox One X is definitely powerful enough to run VR. Definitely. If they turned around to me and said at E3, Oculus Rift is coming to Xbox One X, you better believe I would be looking at, finances, backlogs. I wouldn't be impacted, but I would be looking at it and
kidneys.
saying,
you can live off one of them.
Yep, family members. I would be looking at all that and seriously thinking, this is what we've sort of been lacking, and really running with an established, hardware company like Oculus Rift. They already have the connection on PC. It's got to be something that you could work with somewhere down the line. That for me would. I hope that's what they're going to announce at E3. I just hope if they do announce that, they don't do what they did with the Xbox One this generation, with the Xbox 2 or whatever we're going to call it, and that's put the VR set in the standard bundle and charge way over the limits for it, because it's got this extra bundle in it, so yeah, VR would be awesome, in my opinion. But
yeah, I think you're right. They've got the system for it, and they could do. I mean, as much as we discussed PlayStation VR last episode, like PlayStation 4 Pro, they can, it works, but even and it's an accessible system. It's not super complicated, but I mean, they could really take off with the Xbox ecosystem that's already, like you said, partnering on the PC side. So that's definitely something to be looking out for. But there it is, dear listeners. That's our state of the Xbox address, looking into E3, needing big things from Microsoft to really continue to build that hype and to make up some ground this generation. And again, while they may be losing this generation, let's not act like 30 million consoles they've made money, and especially with their services. So Microsoft still definitely has the money to throw around if they can just figure out the path forward. It'll be interesting to see how they finish this cycle out. So there it is.
Cool beans. Well, dear listeners, thank you for checking out this episode 117 of the Reform Gamers podcast. I'm waiting for someone to get that kind of like a little Easter egg there. I'm with you. But before we let you go, we gotta give you some recos, some things to check out, some things to look into, some things to do. And so this section of Recco is brought to you by Richard Marroquin from the Jet Islander podcast. Richard, thank you for supporting us at the $25 tier on patreon.com/thereformedgamers. Gareth, man, what should our dear listeners check out this week?
I Well, so we mentioned about any time I post in the group, it's normally somebody saying, "Oh, I need a Dark Souls-like game, but not Dark Souls or Bloodborne," and I am almost certainly in the top 3 comments saying The Surge. This game is awesome. It is a sci-fi Dark Souls game that is just so good. Story's not everything, but it's all about the gameplay. The gameplay is incredible. The grind is real. You will grind in this game, but it is so satisfying when you do it. This game is regularly updated with free DLC. There is a paid DLC, but it's got free DLC. They just turned around the other week and said, "There's 3 new suits. Go find them." What? That's
Nice.
okay. Cool. Okay, for free. I'll go do that. That's awesome. I'll go do that. So definitely get on it as soon as you can. It's quite regularly on sale on Xbox. Probably is on PlayStation as well. Definitely give this game a look up. The second one is out in 2019. I can't wait to play that as well. So I would definitely try and get on it. And yeah, so that's my first reco. My second reco is in the UK. We've finally had some sunny weather. It's been raining and snowing and raining and snowing. So we've got some nice weather, and I would just, beg you all to go out and just go for a walk, amongst God's creation. Just see what a magnificent world that that has its own natural beauty that you can admire. Go find a quiet space and just spend some time with God that's maybe in a different place to where you used to. Your study, your library, maybe your church. Just go take that out and go listen to some birds for a while or something. We're all pasty skinned gamers. Yeah, we could probably do it. We could probably do with a tan. So go out and just enjoy, walking amongst God's creation. So yeah, that's my recos.
So, side note about that pasty skin thing. I would be offended at that, except I remember a pastor that I was working with a couple of years ago. This college pastor. He looks at me and he's like, Logan, you're a shade darker than clear. He's like, you need to get out, man. I thought it was funny. All right, Adam, what's your recos, man?
2 quick ones. Me and my wife in the last week, we were like, oh, we're just sick of sitcoms and Netflix. I mean, I'm never sick of The Office, but I've watched it 8 or 9 times through.
Yep.
So we just started watching Planet Earth 2. And man, it was just relaxing. So that's one of mine. Is check out if you haven't seen the second season. Most people are familiar with the first one. I'm still amazed at how they capture half these videos. I'm like, how did they know that this field mouse was going to run in this area and catch it and somehow follow it? I'm like, it does not make sense to me. So Planet Earth 2, it's super chill. I mean, I haven't been that relaxed in a while, I feel like. And then
it's that British accent.
Yeah, right. Yeah, no doubt. The other one is it's a new little snack of mine. We talk about food a decent amount on here, but it's a Japanese snack called Pocky. You can find them at Walmart. They're like crackers dipped in yogurt. They got put on my radar a few weeks back by a friend, and then as all these students were moving out, some random student left 3 boxes, and I'm like, awesome. And so I literally ate a whole box right before we started this podcast recording. And so check them out. They're so good. And they're pretty light on you. You're not going to feel super heavy after you eat them. But yeah, Pocky, Pocky.
Man, I'm going to have to go get me some after this. I haven't had any since high school. Oh, they're so good.
So good. There's a lot of different flavors too.
They really are, man. I think I had the chocolate ones. I don't remember. I'm just going to go buy however much Walmart has. I'm just going to buy it all up. As far as my recos go, it's actually going to be one this time around, and it kind of goes in line. Actually, it could very well go in line with one of Gareth's recos very easily, and that is take a vacation. For us here in the States, and really just, I guess, wherever, summer's coming up, go on vacation. Go visit somewhere that you've been wanting to go visit. Go check out someplace. Go travel. Just go be outside. Go do something fun. And maybe if you're the kind of person who is on, your phone too much, take a vacation from your phone. I've been taking a vacation from Facebook for the past 2 or 3 weeks now, and it's kind of amazing. It's cool. I've actually seen the sunlight for the first time, which was a new experience. I've stopped bumping into people, so that was great. A lot less bruises. I'm totally joking here, but yeah, just take a vacation. Go enjoy the world. Go enjoy the sights. Just go do something. Just get out there. As Persona 5 theme song would say, "Get on, get up, get out there." I think that's how it goes. I don't remember, but anyway, dear listeners, thank you for checking out this episode of the Reformed Gamers. If you'd like to contact us, why not head over to oh man, I was doing so good and then there it went. Dear listeners, if you like what we do here on the show, head over to patreon.com/thereformedgamers once more time. Just to pledge your support to us, help the show grow a little bit, and get access to some sweet perks such as our Patreon exclusive show, The Loot Box. We put those out in the off weeks that we put out normal episodes of the show. So if you are supporting us at that tier on Patreon, you get those episodes in between our episode releases. But as always, you can head over to the website, thereformedgamers.wordpress.com, where you can read Adam's sweet new review of A Way Out. Holla. You can also see my my preview of Flint Hook going up over there. You can also go over to our YouTube at youtube.com/thereformedgamers to see our actual gameplay preview of Flint Hook, and as well as listen to episodes of the podcast and check out all of our past streams. You can also follow us on Twitter at TRG Podcast, and you can hang out in the Facebook group. Just search The Reformed Gamers, and you'll see the banner for Dark Souls Remastered, say The Reformed Gamers over it. Hit the request to join, fill out all 3 questions, and we'll see about getting you in there. Gareth, man, thank you for joining us and sticking it out this late into the game, man. I'm sorry that you're going to be super tired in a couple hours, waking up and going to work, but thanks for joining us, man.
No, it's been a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. Well, dear listeners,
staying up.
Sorry, go ahead.
Hopefully you can get some sleep in and we don't ruin your work day tomorrow.
It's totally fine. I work flexible, so I'm working from home tomorrow. So it's all good. I arranged it all. Don't worry.
Working from home, aka playing Xbox all day. I see you. I see you.
Awesome, man. Well, dear listeners,
I set it as offline.
That's good.
Yeah. All right, dear listeners. That's 2 systems down, 1 more to go. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Until then, GG and amen.